Hey guys, Hal here. Welcome to my workbench. In this video, we're going to cover setting the auto rotation bailout calibration on the Talon 90 ESC. I made a video about calibrating the endpoints, and from there, it's appropriate to go ahead and to set the auto rotation bailout number in your throttle hold. Now, for those who are new, and I was once new, just like you, the auto rotation bailout feature is a function of the ESC. And in this case, it's a Talon 90. And you set this via the Castle Creation's Castle Link software. And it's a little checkbox. And what that does is it allows people who are flying auto rotations to abort the auto rotation by flipping a switch and having the ESC drive full power back to the motor. That way you can learn how to fly the path of the auto rotation and then bail out, as the term implies. So you would fly up to altitude, you would pull your power down, fly the path of the auto rotation, and then flip the button, and there would be full power. Now, for that to happen and for us to do the calibration, you would have had to follow my other video on setting the endpoints for the ESC. So I encourage you to go onto my channel. Be sure that the auto rotation feature is enabled in the Castle Link software, and you'll see that right on the throttle tab. And be sure that you follow my video in calibrating the endpoints. You have to do that first, and you have to do that with the auto rotation enabled. The endpoint calibration will be different if you do not enable auto rotation bailout feature in the Castle Link software. So without further ado, let's get started. So I have my helicopter apart here. Notice that I pulled the blades. I have the motor backed away from the main gear, and you can see that the main gear is spinning, no problem, because we are going to run the motor at full speed. The auto rotation bailout is going to occur as a function of setting the throttle hold. And the throttle hold switch on my Spectrum radio I have set up here on the top right. Now, if you take a look here, we have the hold position set to 0%. And what that means, as you know, is if you engage throttle hold, you're going to be driving the throttle to 0%. Now, when it goes to 0%, the ESC is basically, I don't want to say reset, but basically almost at a disarmed mode. You're driving the ESC output down to 0% so that the motor doesn't turn. Well, the problem with that is the ESC is basically going to be reset. This is the way it's been explained to me. And that's not what we want. We want to fly the auto rotation path, and if we get too low to the ground, we want to basically come out of throttle hold,
Flight mode 1.
Back to our flight mode 1, and we want the ESC to go to 100%. Now, I know this might be a little hard to follow, so just bear with me here. Basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the moment at which the throttle hold will turn off the motor, but not fully reset. When it's at 0%, it's completely reset down to 0. Okay, so follow me for a minute here. We're basically going to find the place where the throttle hold will stop the motor from turning, however, not reset. So that's going to involve some positive number on the throttle hold. Now, experience tells me that we could basically set this at about 20% all the way through. And what that's going to do is it's basically going to put us into that first throttle position, the first flight mode position, or whatever flight mode position you're in. So whether it's 1 or 2. In my case, I run at 100% power. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change this value right here to about, 20%. Now, what that's going to mean is throttle hold is not going to hold the throttle at 0%, which is what we typically do. It's going to hold it at 20%, which means that motor is going to run at 100%. So I'm going to demonstrate to you now how this is going to work. But basically, I'm going to power up the helicopter with my battery. and I'm basically going to come out of flight mode normal and go to flight mode 1. The ESC is going to soft start my motor up to 100%. When it goes to 100%, I'm going to engage throttle hold, okay? Which this pulse right here, okay, in the hold function is going to put my range back into that flight mode 1 percentage of 100%. So what you're going to do then is you're going to engage throttle hold, then you're going to adjust this down right into the point where basically the throttle gets the ESC basically turns the motor off but doesn't reset. That's the key thing. You want the throttle to be driven down to a point, that flight mode, down to a point where the motor doesn't turn and the ESC does not reset. Oh, I've just plugged in my battery to my helicopter and the AR7200BX is initializing. So it just initialized. And I'm in flight mode 1. Flight mode 1, if you remember on my radio, is set to 0%. Okay? Now, what we're going to do, so here we go, I'm sorry about that, but here's 0%. And I'm in flight mode, normal mode, okay? Not 1, I think I said flight mode 1, I'm incorrect. Flight mode 0, or normal. So now, if I soft start, I would bring this up to mid-stick, and you hear the helicopters going to mid-stick. And then I'm going to come out of normal mode, and you're going to hear the helicopter spool up.
Flight mode 1.
Now, what I just demonstrated was soft start feature. We went from basically a throttle curve of 0% across the board in flight mode 0, and then I brought the stick to mid-stick, and then I flipped the switch to flight mode 1, which basically brought me, sorry about the shake, up to 100% of my throttle. And you heard the ESC kind of put some pulses out there and start up that motor to 100%. And that's exactly what soft start does. And it's very, very convenient. I've seen all the pros do it. And as you saw, to stop it, I basically just came over. I would have landed the helicopter. And at that point, maybe, I had a little bit of negative. And then to shut down the heli, I would just go to flight mode 0. So it's very, very convenient. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to calibrate the auto rotation bailout. There it goes. Soft starting right now. You hear it 100%. Okay, so at 17%, it basically came out and it shut off the motor. So I'm going to come down, I don't know, down to like 16% just to make sure I'm in that range. So what happened was I was at 20% and we were still in that normal mode. The flight mode 1, which was 100%. So you heard the heli spool up at 100%. And then I dialed this value down until I heard the motor turn off, and then I gave it another couple clicks. So now it's at 16%. That's the range at which the motor will stop and the ESC will remain armed. The helicopter is spooled up and we get it into hold mode.
Hold mode.
So now the throttle does not work. The throttle is, we're in normal mode of our flight mode, which is 0%, and we have throttle hold engaged. Okay? So now how would we lift off, right? We'd place our heli out on the pad. We would come out of throttle hold. Into our normal mode, and we would come up mid-stick, and now we would start the helicopter. So I'm going to come to flight mode 1.
Flight mode 1, 30 seconds.
So now we're flying along, and we're at 100%, and we're going to go up and fly the auto, and now I come down, right, about to fly the auto, and I hit the hold. So now we were at altitude, flying the path. I hit the hold, I'm flying the auto, and now I say, uh-oh, I don't want to fly the auto anymore, and I come out of throttle hold, and you're going to hear it very quickly spool up.
Flight mode 1.
So now I'm flying along, right, going up. Right, so now I try doing the auto again. I fly up to altitude, and sure enough, I'm flying the auto, and I'm scared. So now I come out of the hold mode, and you're going to hear it spool up quick.
Flight mode 1.
So we're flying around, and now we're done. Our radio is done, and I'm going to come and land. And now, if I go into flight mode normal, which is 0%, now she basically is on the ground and powered down. And I'm out of throttle hold. Okay? So now at normal mode, okay, you see the throttle is disengaged. Okay? And if I go to power up, I'm coming out of throttle hold. I was out of throttle hold. And now I'm going to start the heli again, start my next flight, and you're going to hear the helicopter spool up very slowly. That's the soft start.
Flight
And I went to flight mode normal, and I went to a soft stop, if you will, down to 0%. So that is the concept of the auto rotation calibration, if you will, the auto rotation bailout, and also the concept of the soft start feature of the Castle. And this is the way I saw all the pros do it. This is the way my buddy showed me how to do it. It's just so convenient. There's less button pushing and flight mode when you start getting past the point of just hovering. This is totally the preferred way to do it. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, definitely post them. And I hope this video showed you something, and enjoy.